Hello, everyone. This is B, and I'm here to talk about what I just saw on the TV. Atletico versus Barca. Score ended 3-2 in favor of Atletico Madrid. Um, Around, I'm not even sure what minute it was, but it was in the second half where um, I believe it was Eric Garcia, the center back, got taken off from Barcelona. He got sent off. Um, it was a very entertaining game just because in the first 5 minutes I think Lemán Yamal scores, and it was a through ball. It was through the manipulation of the back line. The four Barca attackers were pressing the back line of Atletico Madrid very hard, and just the creation of space and the manipulation of dragging center backs back and forth, creating that kind of space for the forwards to run in and behind. It was immediately a red flag on my end. Like I, I feel like Diego Simeone should have covered that up a little bit quicker, just because in the first 5 minutes, Lamine Yamal and I forget what other player it was, but they dragged a defender, create space. Lamine Yamal through ball and he scores easily. It's it was kind of silly for me because obviously Atletico Madrid very defensive shape. Um, on the previews it said 4-4-2, but it was more like a back line of five. But with one of the center backs obviously either being manipulated or just drifting out by choice to kind of poke the ball out. It really wasn't working for that first half of the game because that's where Barcelona score both of their goals. Same kind of things happens. It's just on the edge of the line, the defense. I believe it's Ferran Torres. He receives the ball, turns, and has a quick goal, which is very good play by Barcelona, seeing that the defense can be manipulated, manipulate them for space, for time, for goals. And the only thing that Atletico Madrid had on them was obviously that very holding defensive shape. But it was a pretty open match, more so where they kind of exchanged more in the midfield than anything. And really, what gave them Atletico the goal after the first two goals was just a counterattack. Griezmann on the far right crosses it to, I believe, Lookman, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but it taps it in. Um, it was very interesting game, especially after that, after the first half, because we get started right away. There was a goal around the 55th minute for Ferran Torres. Ball was loose, bouncing around in the area, and Ferran Torres finds a volley. He hits it in the top bins. They let him celebrate, and then it's drawn back for offsides. So it is offsides. There's no argument about that. But the big confusion with a later incident, I believe it's Sorloth from Atletico Madrid. He gets subbed on after quite a few stoppages. Some players were injured or getting moved around. There was bleeding, but it was nothing more than an accident. I would say it didn't look anything intentional. But essentially, Swordloth goes through on goal, and they call it for offsides after he gets like a very soft foul. Like, yes, it's a soft foul, but if he wasn't offsides, it'd be a goal scoring position, and that would be a red card. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if it was offside, if it was onside, but the ref goes to look at it on VAR, and they take Eric Garcia off with a red card because of stopping a goal scoring opportunity on Sorloth. And from then on, Barca don't really give, like, it's not that they lower their arms down, it's just that they don't have enough power to make it through a stern defense, a stern mentality Atletico squad with great experience, and the inexperience of the Barcelona squad. Although they did bring Marcus Rashford and Lewandowski off as substitute, or Lewandowski on for substitutes, it just wasn't enough. They couldn't really keep it going. They had 8 minutes of stoppage time, and they couldn't make it go through. So it was a bit of a tough battle, but ultimately Atletico Madrid goes through to the semifinal. And I was watching that game instead of the PSG Liverpool game because um, obviously you could predict that this game would be a little bit more entertaining. But PSG Liverpool, PSG scores two at Anfield. McAllister kind of falls easily for a penalty. I think the decision is right to overturn it because they had originally given a penalty, but it's just way too soft of a contact to give a penalty. Even if they gave him a penalty, Mo Salah's been missing all the penalties. So like, I don't mean to be a Liverpool hater. It's just you got to expect more from that team. So PSG go through to the semifinal, waiting for Real Madrid and Bayern to duke it out and find out their opponent. Same with Atletico. They are now waiting for Arsenal or Sporting to go through. And this is where it gets very interesting because on paper, Arsenal should beat Sporting, but you never know. You never know. And, whoever comes out of that tie, I feel like they have a good chance against Atletico because Atletico, I don't want to say that they overthink things, but, you know, it's Atletico. It's not Barcelona. It's not a mountain to climb. It's Atletico. They've gotten beat by Arsenal 4-0. And if Sporting beat Arsenal, then they have that kind of mentality that they can kind of, hey, we beat the team that beat this team 4-0. We could probably do something to them. And I say the same for Arsenal. Like they've beaten them in the past. This season, I believe it was last year. And so if they beat, all they got to do is beat Sporting, and they'll probably come out on top against Atletico in the semifinal, and it'll be on to the final, which will give Mikel Arteta to the opportunity to win some European competition. But obviously, you can't just predict it off of what had happened in the past. Maybe some things have changed, um, things to move around. Hopefully, that mentality or the recent happenings of Arsenal, where they've been losing like the last three games, doesn't really screw them up here because it looks perfectly aligned for them to make it to the final. And honestly, I would say the same thing for PSG. Although Bayern and Real Madrid are much bigger mountains to climb than Atletico Madrid, it's it's more carved out for them. I would say to be standouts, just because they're able to shut out a Liverpool squad, which I would say has decent quality, although they haven't been performing as good as they should have. It's it's turning up to be very interesting. And honestly, what I kind of want to see, even though I've been talking like smack on Arsenal, just because of their terrible performances and like a horrible mentality. I hate how they kind of play submissively in the English Premier League, because they're more than capable to beat Man City. But hopefully, they're able to hold a different mentality in the European competition. Just because I feel like it's so laid out well for them. They have to play Sporting at home and they're already up by one. That should be an easy win. And you've already beaten Atletico Madrid 4-0. You can beat them again and then make it to a final. And, who knows on the final day, whether it be Real Madrid, Bayern, or PSG, taking them to a final, putting them in that position to win, I would say is enough to, sit down with the team and go, hey, we put ourselves in this position. Let's might as well go out and fight, give it our all, and win. Or PSG gets a double. Or Real Madrid, Bayern, they're very big teams. We'll never know what's going to happen until we see that Bayern Real Madrid game. It's very hard. It's very hard to see what's going on, or to predict what's going on, just because they have so much talent and so much potential with all of these great teams. Like Real Madrid, monster. UCL is their competition. Bayern is the German monster. Vincent Kompany is like turning out to be a great manager with a great squad, like Mikel Olise, or Michael Olise, my bad, Harry Kane, all of these great players. Um, and it's just like undeniable that you have three big teams on one side, and like Atletico, Arsenal, they're not really up to those standards. I wouldn't want to say that it's like a guaranteed win for whoever comes out of that left side of the bracket, but it's going to be a privilege to whoever gets out of that semifinal, whether it be Atletico, Arsenal, or even Sporting if they make it that far. It's going to be such a big privilege for them to win that semifinal and put themselves in the position to actually win a final, regardless of what kind of mountain they have to climb. Putting yourself in that position is going to be great for any kind of club. Those are my takes on it. Obviously, sad that Barcelona couldn't get a remontada. All that talk with the glasses, the media stunts, Lamine Yamal asking for a one-on-one uh, because they're really kind of like double teaming him. But I would say good on Barcelona and Hansi Flick for finding the flaw in Atletico Madrid's defense and manipulating that space. Just unfortunate that it couldn't happen. Couldn't see it through. Maybe make a maybe a separate discussion for that kind of red card. Um, just because, like, obviously refs aren't perfect. It's a hard job, but I don't think it was really too much of a mistake. It's just like weird how VAR changes so many things and how refs already like a very very critical position. Um, it's something to be discussed entirely because there's been bad refs in the Premier League, bad refs in most leagues. It's just a discussion to keep getting better at. But that's how it played out. Um, Even without 10 men, I feel like Atletico Madrid would have still um, came out on top, but you never know. You never know. Um, I guess that's a discussion for a different day. But let me know what you think about these games. Let me know who you think is now going to be the top spots, who's going to go through, who's going to drop out. Um, I probably won't make the video as soon for tomorrow's games just because I got work, but I will be covering those, so stay tuned. Adios.